What is going on, my friends? Welcome back to the Locks DFS NBA breakdown video. I am your host, Christian Hardy. I am Buy Hardy on Twitter and Buy Hardy on DraftKings. We're going to be breaking down this 6-game NBA slate for Monday. What is it? December 2nd. We are into December now. After a little Thanksgiving hiatus, we're back to record these videos. Pretty good 6-game slate on tap. I mean, there's lots of value options in this slate, not a lot of stud options. So there's going to be a lot of different ways that you can go with GPPs in terms of what value you want to be heavier on in the field and that sort of thing. It's going to be a really interesting slate. Before we get into it, I want to remind you guys that, of course, we haven't been on here to promote our Black Friday sale / Cyber Monday sale. It's going on still today. It's going on through today. But our NBA passes and NFL passes are both 50% off for the rest of the season. It's only on the season passes is where you can use a deal. The code is right there. It's on our Twitter. It is Friday 2019. As you can see right there, just type that in when you're in checkout, and you'll get 50% off the pass, and then we'll get you into our private Slack chat, and you'll get all the lock sheets and all that good stuff for the rest of the year. All right, with that said, let's go ahead and jump into the plays. So, I just want to talk about the pieces of injury news that we have to discuss before we really break it down. I mean, a lot of the questionables, are going to really depend. A lot of your decisions on the slate depend a lot on the questionables that we still have to wait on. And a lot of them are going to come out early, so we'll be okay. But, let's get into some of them. So a big one for me is Phoenix because they have such a good rebounding matchup against Charlotte. Charlotte's the worst team in the paint, the worst rebounding matchup in the league. Or the best for opponents, but they're the worst rebounding team in the league. Aaron Baines is questionable. We already have Shaq Diallo out. Obviously, DeAndre Ayton still out. And then we have Cam Johnson questionable as well. So this front court's going to be very thin depending on how this news comes out. I think both Cam Johnson and Aaron Baines are both... Okay, Aaron Baines has a calf injury, but Cam Johnson is a sickness. So I think most guys who are sick usually just sit out. I think Cam's probably going to be out. Baines, he got downgraded to questionable, and I'm thinking that he's going to sit out as well. But regardless, this is a situation that I don't really have a lot of analysis on right now. If Aaron Baines is in and he starts, I really like Aaron Baines at that price. If he's not in, I wouldn't mind paying that price for Saric because his minutes floor will be so high. And at that price, a lot of people might not be playing him. Maybe if the news comes out a certain way, people will play him. But obviously, Frank Kaminsky at 4.4K. If we see Shaq out and we see Cam Johnson, Shaq, and Aaron Baines out, Kaminsky's gonna be forced to play like at least 30 minutes. Man, he hasn't been very good this year. But at that minutes against Charlotte, it's a really, really good spot for him. So that's a situation we're waiting on news on. Another situation is New York, where we'll get the chalkiest player of the slate if news breaks right. So Elfrid Payton's still out. He's close to return, but he's still out. Ntilikina is questionable with a back injury. He sat out yesterday, so I'm thinking he'll probably sit out again today. But if he is out, we're going to see Dennis Smith Jr. become massive chalk. Even if he isn't out, because this is a blowout, people might still go to Dennis Smith Jr., and especially because how Fizdale plays his minutes. We'll see ownership on Dennis Smith Jr. either way, I think. But he will be massive, massive chalk if Ntilikina is out, and for good reason. At 3.2K, he just played 38 minutes last night without Ntilikina. He should do the same today. They still have other point guard options, really. They definitely don't have other... So sometimes they'll play Kevin Knox at point guard in kind of a weird sort of lineup. But with Marcus Morris still out, Kevin Knox is starting at the 3. And so they need Knox to play those minutes at the 3. Knox only played 22 minutes last night. Last night against Boston. But Knox is a good value again for me today. Marcus Morris is still out. So we have a minutes for Knox here of like 22 minutes like we saw last night. Like, I don't think we're going to see him get lower than that. Fizdale likes to do crazy things with the minutes, but I think we're going to see him at that. And then, upside for potentially more for Knox here. So I think at 3.5K, he's a solid value as well. This is again a pace-up spot against Milwaukee. Vegas-wise, there's not a lot of games that stand out today. So, at 220, it's actually the third highest total of the slate. They're just going to be lacking some guys in their rotation because Marcus is out, because Peyton is out, if Ntilikina is out. Also, don't mind Julius Randle at 7.3K. Not a bad rebounding matchup, especially without Brook Lopez in there. And then sticking on this game, speaking of Brook Lopez, he has been ruled out. So Robin Lopez is going to start, and I think this price is still too low on Robin Lopez actually a little bit. I'm at 4.4K, so he only played 24 minutes in this game against Charlotte, and this game could go similarly where it's a blowout and Robin Lopez doesn't play in the fourth. He played like a minute in the fourth in that game, but if Robin Lopez plays a full 4 stints, he's going to be around 28 to 29 to 30 minutes. At 4.4K, the potential to shoot some threes. He's gonna grab a good amount of rebounds. I think he's a very, very solid play at this price still. Either way, because he's gonna start at the 5. If you think this can be a blowout, maybe play a little bit more TJ Wilson. He played 24 minutes in that last blowout. He can be a productive per minute player at times. But yeah, that's pretty much. And then of course, I was gonna mention it at the end of the video. We will. We'll talk. We're gonna talk about the studs at the end because I tend to talk about the studs at the end. And then there's another injury situation. I mean, there are really a lot of injury situations on this slate, which is what makes this slate so interesting to me. It's gonna make it really fun for GPPs in my opinion. But Ja Morant is out, so Jonas Valanciunas gets a massive bump without Ja Morant. Let's see what Add More Funds has. So this is without Clark and Ja Morant, so the sample size is smaller. But even if you just take Ja Morant off, Jonas is at 1.37 fantasy point per minute. So we saw the same thing last year, where if Mike Conley wasn't playing, Jonas Valanciunas gets a ton more usage. It's been the same without Ja Morant this year. Just because he becomes like a much more solid option for the offense. So I like him again. I like him today if he's in. The problem is that he's also sick and he's questionable. So I don't know what his status is going to be for this game. If he's out, obviously Jaren Jackson Jr. is a good play. The issue is that he's always in foul trouble and you have risk there. But he would have massive upside. He would have a ton of usage and a lot of usage to go around. The entire team. Jay Crowder, because Kyle Anderson out. He's got a great minutes floor. Dylan Brooks, his price came up. Tyus Jones, his price came up. But those guys would all still be in play if we see Jonas ruled out because of the usage has to go somewhere on this team. And also, Jonas is out. Bruno Caboclo, so he played 29 minutes off the bench last game. And this is mostly due to Jaren Jackson's foul trouble. I wouldn't project him for 29 minutes, even close to 29 minutes. I think it'll be more like if he wasn't in foul trouble, probably like 18 to 20. 20 probably being the high end of that. But if Jonas is out and Brandon Clark has already been ruled out, Bruno's going to have to play minutes in this game. So, I already don't mind Bruno off the bench right now. If he's getting 18 minutes, he could definitely crush his price of 3K. He can be very productive without Ja in, and, if he's getting minutes. Whether, just because he has to come off the bench because there's no Brandon Clark anymore, or he has to, potentially get a start instead of, Jonas. I don't know what's going to happen with that. We have to wait for Jonas news, but this is a situation where we're going to be able to find value regardless. Whether it's Jonas, I'm going to be interested in the Memphis guys. Regardless of how the news breaks. The Warriors have some injury news as well. I mean, like almost every team on the slate. Wait, the Warriors, here they are. So Draymond is out. He got ruled out today, so he's resting. Kevin Looney does return on a 20 minutes limit, which widens the team's field to 9 players. Sans, Green, Russell, and Steph. 2 players I'm really looking at. There are actually 3 players. Alec Burks, Kai Bowman, and Eric Paschall. So Bowman is going to play the 1 for most of this game now. And when we see him play the 1, we see his production kind of spike, in these games where we see him get a few more assists, a few more shots. He's at the 1 here. This price is just way too low for point guard Kai Bowman against a team that isn't very good, and also both these teams run pretty quick in pace. The total isn't very high, but I think it's just based on the fact that it's the second highest total on the slate. I keep forgetting that these totals are super low today. Second highest total on the slate, but I think it could be higher. I think this game could go higher, but the problem is that both these offenses are just bad. So that's probably the issue there. Pace-wise, it should be up, and that should help the peripheral stats, rebounds, blocks, that sort of thing, defensive stats. Bowman a lot. He's around a fantasy point per minute, a little lower when he plays point guard. And I want to talk about Eric Paschall at 5.6K. I think this price is also very, very solid, getting a little bit of a discount from what he was in this range, 5'9", 6'3", 5'9". Without Draymond, his minutes floor elevates a bit. The issue, of course, for Paschall is that, Kevin Looney comes back. We're not sure exactly how he's going to fit into this team. He's on a 20 minutes limit. I'm not sure where those minutes are going to be taken from, but I do think that Paschall still will find himself at a 30-minute floor. Paschall on the season without those 3 is at 0.93 fantasy point per minute. So, at a 1 fantasy point per minute, 5.6K, good for probably 30 minutes here. I would assume, potentially more depending on how Looney gets his minutes. I really like Paschall in this matchup. It's also a really good rebounding matchup. Atlanta bottom half in the league in rebounding. So, and then lastly is Sacramento, where De'Aaron Fox is still out, and it's just a matter of liking this price on Bogdanovic at 6.2K. He's probable now for this game. He's gonna be someone that plays around 28 to 32 minutes, somewhere in that range, kind of just depending on the game and how he's playing. He's also going to close games, which is also super important, just regularly. Chicago is like the 10th fastest team in the league, so this is a pace-up game for Sacramento, who's the second slowest team in the league. I think a lot of that is due to not having De'Aaron Fox, but they have just been a slower team this year in general. But this is a pace-up game for them, so that's nice. Bogdanovic is at 1.16 fantasy point per minute without De'Aaron Fox on the floor. Like I said, he's going to see about 30 minutes. Buddy Hield also is in play at 7.1K. I don't think this price is too outlandish. He's just been seeing massive minutes. I think that's the biggest thing for me is that, before we were projecting him at like 36 minutes, which, he busts that here. But, with Fox out, he's busting that, multiple times. 42, which is insane, by the way, 42. 40 minutes, 37, 36. We saw those 238s down here. Those were without Fox. So, I like the minutes floor we're getting from Hield. The issue, I think, with Hield is that Chicago has a really good three-point defense. Obviously, that's Hield's forte, and if he's not hitting his threes, it's really tough for him to reach an upside because he didn't get a lot of assists. So, not a lot of defensive stats either. So, I don't mind Hield. I'll have some of him in GPPs, but, I'm not, in love with him. I definitely prefer Bogdanovic at his price, averaging that 1.16 fantasy point per minute, getting 30 minutes. He's and upside in terms of getting a double-double. If he grabs a bunch of assists, grabs a bunch of rebounds, he can get a double-double either way. Because he's just such a productive fantasy point per minute player. Okay, talking about the studs, obviously Giannis, with all the value that I just talked about, value that may open up depending on those injuries, he's just the best play on the slate, and I think he'll be very owned because of it, especially just because of the fact that if we look at the top here, there's really no one else that has a consistent 60-point floor here. I mean, not that Giannis has a literal 60-point floor, but for the most part he does. And there's no one like a Harden, like a LeBron, like an AD, none of those guys are here. Doncic, so a ton of ownership because the value, like Dennis Smith Jr., 3K, like Kevin Knox. There's other guys there too, the 5K range. Giannis is going to be very owned. I think there's definitely paths to where, you're going to be able to play more than just Giannis if you want. Lineups I'm building right now are getting Giannis and a 7K or 8K guy in them. And that's just based on the injury news we have right now. And just preliminary builds, but there's lots of builds where you can go where you do get a little bit more of this mid-range, especially if you think that Giannis game is going to blow out. There's a lot of paths to Giannis failing, failing being not scoring 65, 70. If he scores 50, there's a lot of path to him scoring 50 is what I'm trying to say here because, he could play 3 quarters in this game. That's a 16-point spread. I mean, we saw him play 20 minutes against Charlotte. This game could go similarly. And at 12K, there's a lot of paths for him to fail where you can get guys in more competitive games with higher upside because of that, because they'll play all 4 stints. That doesn't mean I'm going to be off Giannis. I'll be at least matching the field on Giannis, I would think. But I think there's other paths. Like Trae Young, of course, his price is way up, but dude is getting a solid amount of usage. I think at that price, it does limit his upside quite a bit. But in this mid-range, I think Brogdon in this pace-up against Memphis, 8.1K solid. Sabonis, 8K solid. Levine is an interesting GPP play, but like I said, a pace-down game for them. Valanciunas is someone I want to get to. Julius Randle is someone I want to get to. Devontae Graham is someone I want to get to for sure. He has slate-breaking potential pretty much every slate. There's guys in this mid-range that you can fill out your lineup with instead of going to Giannis. But I will still have plenty of Giannis just because it's so easy to get to him in your builds. So, and the good thing about these other guys, they're going to be I think most of these guys, maybe not the Indiana guys, they might get a little bit more ownership up to 15 or 20%, I would think. But other than those guys, I think that all these guys I mentioned, all these guys in this mid-range here that are 7K and up will be relatively low owned. Hield, Graham, I think Randall could get some ownership. Gobert's cheap, interesting, 7.4K. I didn't even mention Philly. They're missing Josh Richardson, so keep a lookout for who they're going to start. If Tybalt gets to start in his place, he's interesting again. Even though he did bust last time. Actually, when he started, he did not bust. He actually did well. But if Korkmaz starts, it's Korkmaz. I'm not really too interested in that. So, usage go elsewhere with Simmons, who will be pretty low owned. He usually picks up more usage without Richardson a little bit. So, yeah, lots of injury news to watch. Lots of interesting plays in GPP, ways to go. So thank you guys all so much for watching. Don't forget, check out our Black Friday, Cyber Monday sale, locksdfs.com. The code is Friday 2019. It's on our locksdfs.com Twitter. I'll put it in the description as well. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter. I'm at ByHardy. And good luck tonight. We will see you guys back here next time. Peace.